on a firm foundation. Jesus is Lord of all. But Paul says, I would not have you to be ignorant concerning them which are asleep, that you sorrow not as those who have no hope. For if we believe that Jesus died and rose again, even so, them also which sleep in him will God bring with him. For this we say unto you by the word of the living God, that we which are alive and remain shall not prevent them which are asleep. For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, with the trumpet of God, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible. I thank God that Jesus came. I thank God that Jesus died. And I thank God that he rose again. That's why Jesus could stand in John 11:25 and declared, I am the resurrection and the life. He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. Oh, brothers and sisters, Brother James lived with that faith in God. He lived believing. He believed that Jesus is. Because of his faith, then you ought to have the hope that there is coming a day when sickness shall be no more, when sorrows shall be no more, when pains shall be no more. Yes, in this life, you will suffer the pains of separation. You will suffer trials and temptations. You will hurt, yes. We will all come face to face with death. But we shall have no fear. Paul says, I'm now ready to be offered, and the time of my departure is at hand. He says, I have fought the good fight. I have run the race. I have finished my course, and I have kept the faith. Henceforth, there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord himself shall give to me on that day. Paul says, I have that faith. Why? For on that awesome Sunday morning, 3 days after death celebrated, death which had never lost a battle, death which had never lost a fight, lost the war. For from the silent, dark, feared coliseum of the tomb, where blood often soaked the sand, where the human race trembled before its most feared enemy, where gladiator death stood as undefeated champion, from that very arena rose a Prince of life and life. Jesus Christ rose from the grave, triumphant over death, hell, and the grave. Jesus Christ rose from the grave. He stands as champion of love. Jesus Christ rose from the grave. He who was despised was now honored above all men, and he who lives in him is guaranteed victory through his blood. Jesus has guaranteed victory. So we need not fear. For the Lord, he is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? If you learn to trust in the Lord, if you learn to depend on his word, if you learn to rely upon his help, if you're convicted by his spirit, if you're transformed by his grace, he's saying, though you were dead, yet shall you live. So when the troubles of life take a toll on you, when the hardships of life humiliate you, when the temptations of the enemy mortifies you, when the lust of the flesh crucifies you, when God has placed his hand on you, but you can't seem to experience it, he says, though you were dead, yet shall you live. And why? Because Peter says, he who in his own self bore our sins in his own body on the tree, that we being dead to sins should